Hello, class. My name is Dr. Deanne Michelson, and I will be your instructor this semester. I wanted to give you an overview and a tour of the course in Brightspace. I know every instructor has a slightly different format, so I just kind of wanted to familiarize you with mine. So the first thing that I always want you to look at is the course homepage and the announcements. You'll see two announcements every week, one introducing the topic that we will be studying, and then the second one will be a reminder of the due date of assignments. Right now, you've got the welcome announcement. So if you haven't already read that, make sure you do so. And then make sure you look at the course orientation announcement underneath that. The next thing I want to point out to you is the Getting Started module. So if you click on Content, it'll take you to that module. And just read over this announcement. The most important thing in this announcement is for you to register for Connect. Connect is used in the course. It is required. You should have paid for it when you paid your fees during the semester or for the semester, unless you opted out. If you opted out, you need to opt back in immediately. Otherwise, you're going to pay more for it. Connect will give you access to all of the assignments for the course and the course textbook. If you want a hard copy of the course textbook, you can purchase one at a reduced fee. However, I will warn you that you really can't sell back this textbook if you buy it. You can rent it, I think, for $25. But if you purchase it outright, the tax law changes every year. So these textbooks have a very short shelf life. Also, I want to tell you right off the start, there are no exams in the course. I don't expect you to memorize the tax law. We do have a couple assessments, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But make sure you register for Connect, and if you'll click on this link, it'll take you right where you need to go. Also, make sure that you meet, the attendance reporting deadline. Attendance reporting is due at noon on Tuesday, August 25th. Only students that complete an assignment by 8 a.m. on that morning will be reported as attending the course. You do have a discussion that is part of your course orientation assignments, and that is due on Monday, August 24th at 8 a.m. So if you submit that initial post by the deadline, you will have met the attendance reporting requirements. Then I want you to go to the course information module. I want you to look through the information here. I'm going to point out a few things in this module that I think are really important. One is the weekly assignment schedule. This is a schedule we will follow all semester. I don't anticipate that it will change. Online classes are not impacted by college closing. So if for some reason the water main breaks at the Hardin Valley campus, you can still complete your work. So you will have assignments due every week, and the deadline for all assignments is Monday at 8 a.m. That deadline is not extended for any reason. I shouldn't say that. If you have a death in the family or you have a documented hospitalization, it will be extended. Those are the only two reasons. Everybody's got busy schedules. A lot of people that are taking this class work, have family responsibilities. So you're going to have to meet the deadline. So plan accordingly. Time management in an online class is very, very important. That's why I have a time management module in here that you'll be looking at in developing your initial post for your first discussion. There are no assignments due on Monday, August 24th, but you will have assignments due on Monday, August 31st. For each chapter, you'll have 3 required grade assignments, multiple choice questions. We'll be given 2 attempts at these 15 points. These will be available in Connect. Problems, you also have 2 attempts at these. These are 15 points. These are also available in Connect. and a tax return problem. Now, you won't start completing tax return problems till the week of September 7th. That's when I have you studying Tax Act. And after that week, for every chapter, which will be chapter 3 moving forward, you will have a tax return problem to complete. Now, this tax return problem will be available in Connect for information purposes only. If it is completed in Connect, it will not be accepted for grading. It has to be completed in Tax Act. And I'll talk about Tax Act in just a couple minutes. You'll also have 2 Tax Act assessments. These are the equivalent of exams, but they're open book, open note. The first one will be available beginning on Monday, October 12th. That's right after fall break. And it's due on Monday, October 19th at our usual 8 a.m. deadline. The last one is at the end of the semester. It'll be available after Thanksgiving on Monday, November 30th, and it'll be due on Tuesday, December 8th. We also have 3 graded course discussions in weeks 1, this week, 3 and 14. Each graded course discussion is worth 10 points and will be assessed using this grading rubric. And you can click on that to learn about the rubric. There's a resume assignment. This will be assigned after fall break, and it will be due on Monday, November 9th. I want you to think now, early in your academic career, about building your resume for when you graduate and you're looking for a job. Here is a detailed schedule of what we are doing every week. I want you to notice that the course orientation assignments, with the exception of your initial post in the discussion, are due on Monday, August 31st. This is the same deadline as Chapter 1 assignments, so plan accordingly. In Chapter 1, you will only have multiple choice questions and problems. You won't have a tax return problem. Same is true for Chapter 2. Like I said, the week of September 7th, we will focus on Tax Act, and then you'll have like 3 problems to complete for homework that week. So plan accordingly. Don't procrastinate. I don't make stuff due on August 24th because that's less than a week from when we log into the course. And I know some of you have a lot going on in other courses, so I want to give you time to get comfortable with my course. The next thing I want to point out to you is Tax Act. Tax Act will be available as a download beginning September 4th. I don't want anybody to download it before then because I want you to become comfortable with the material. Plus, I don't want you working ahead. I need to work in the module. I'm not going to make assignments available and let you work at your own pace because that creates a burden for me. It creates confusion for me. So I work in the module that we're in. You can work ahead a little bit, and then I'll give you 2 weeks to work on every assignment, or 2 weekends, I should say. And I'll talk about that more in detail when we look at a specific module for a chapter. The Tax Act software. This will be available as a download and connect, and I will give you instructions on how to download that. Now, this is really important. Tax Act cannot be downloaded to your phone, a tablet, or a Mac. It is a Windows-based software, so you have to have a Windows-based computer. If you don't have a Windows-based computer, you can go to the library. Just go to the circulation desk, and this is at any campus site, and you can check out a computer for the semester. And they will have to download Tax Act for you. You'll have to go to the help desk, and I'll point that out when we get to the module. And they'll download Tax Act for you. So there is no excuse for you to not be able to use Tax Act. All right. Next thing I want to point out is in the course policies module. Make sure you read through all of these. By the way, I will have office hours. Those will primarily be in Teams. I will post my office hours by September 1st. Course policies. Please make sure you review the course policies. If you'll notice, I have just general course policies and policies for the assignments. So make sure you do this. Course communication, this is really important. Give me 24 to 36 hours to respond to your emails. I have students sometimes that'll send me 3 emails in a row. Also, you can email me in Brightspace or at my regular email address. I'm okay with either one, but don't email me in both places and think I'm going to respond quicker. On the weekends, if you send me an email after Friday at noon, I may not respond until Monday morning. I usually check my email at some point during the weekend, but I'm not going to make that promise I'm going to do it every weekend because I might be traveling or doing something during the weekend. Um, the time management module, you're going to look at this for your first discussion. There's some great tips related to time management. I know that sometimes students have a real problem with time management, so I have put this as a module in the course that we will study. Course textbook and textbook appendices, these are in Connect. So you can click on these if you want to register for Connect. Again, the register for Connect instructions are in the Getting Started module. Now, course orientation. Here's your first module. So obviously you're watching the virtual course orientation right now. Here are your required graded assignments. These are in Connect. There's a course policies quiz. I don't expect you to memorize the course policies. You probably want to have two windows open in Brightspace when you take this. One so you can look up the answers, the other one so you can take the quiz. I do give you a 45-minute time limit on this quiz. And the reason is that's so that if you forget to submit the quiz, it auto submits. Otherwise, I have to contact Distance Ed and somebody has to go in and submit it for you. So that's the only reason why there's a time limit. There are 3 attempts at this, and the quiz is worth 10 points, although there's a couple bonus points there, so it's possible to earn extra credit. So if you are happy with your grade on the first attempt, you do not have to take it again. The student information assignment, this should be completed in Word or Excel and submitted to the student information assignment Dropbox in Brightspace. This is just an assignment that lets me know more about you. And by the way, to find the Dropbox, you'll go into course activities, you'll go into assignments, and then it's your first Dropbox here. You'll just click on it and upload it to that Dropbox. Going back to, the course orientation module. And then you have the introduction and time management strategies discussion. And the instructions are given to you in the discussion. If you're not familiar with Brightspace, to find discussions, go to course activities and click on discussions. All right, then you have assignments in Connect. You've got a Connect orientation and a SmartBook orientation. And again, these are all due on Monday, August 31st, with the exception of the initial post. I always give you a reminder of the deadlines. I'll post that in Brightspace when it's usually the Friday before it's due is when I've got those set to post. For every module, I give you a checklist. The use of the checklist is optional, but it'll help keep you on track and it'll tell you what you need to do. Like I've got watch this orientation, attendance reporting, and then the required graded assignments in Brightspace and in Connect. And you can put a check mark next to these as you complete them, so that'll help you keep track of your assignments. Let's look at a typical chapter module. So let's look at chapter 1, which will be the first module you complete. For every module, I give you the learning objectives that you're responsible for. So you want to look at that. I give you the purpose, what we're studying in that chapter. And then I give you what are called learning activities. Since you're taking this class online, you're going to be responsible for learning the material on your own. Now, that doesn't mean you can't ask me questions, but you're not going to have lectures. So I give you 3 learning activities. I give you the SmartBook reading, which is available in Connect. And actually, it says here available in Brightspace. The link is in Brightspace. The chapter 1 outline, which is an outline I've created for the chapter, that might help you organizing, studying the chapter. I tell you to look at certain examples. I've got the PowerPoint presentation, which has the speaker notes. And then there's concept chips available in the textbook. And you'll see these throughout the textbook as you're studying the chapter. The answers to these are actually provided in Appendix C of the textbook. Active links to these are provided in the Learning Activities module. Now, these are optional. You don't have to complete them, but it is strongly encouraged. I do not expect you to look at all 4 of these. That would be overwhelming. I'm trying to give you options in your learning. The SmartBook reading is a reading that is animated in the textbook. You're answering questions. I will tell you, sometimes students get caught in a loop in them. So if you get caught in that loop, just get out of it. Because if you miss a question, it's going to give you more questions related to that. The outline and the PowerPoint presentation, I think are both really helpful, but I would just do one or the other. I think it's going to be overwhelming if you do both. What I would suggest is in the first chapter, chapter 1, chapter 2, look at all 4 of these and get a feel for what you think is going to work best for you. You've got one less assignment in the first 2 chapters, in that you do not have a tax return problem to complete. So you got a little more flexibility. For the required graded assignments, I list those. These you have to do by the deadline. If you miss them, you don't get to make them up. You've got multiple choice questions and problems. And active links to these are provided in the required graded assignments module. Same thing with the learning activities module. And then I remind you of the deadline. Here are the active links. You'll find those. And then again, I give you a checklist. When you get to September 8th, we'll study Tax Act. So in this week, you will do a bunch of assignments related to Tax Act. I have a couple assignments to help you learn it, some learning activities, and then I have required graded assignments. I will address that module with a video when we get there, giving you instructions. Let me look at a typical chapter module. For after Tax Act, for Chapter 3, if you'll notice, I add a required graded assignment. You'll have to complete one tax return problem. This will be submitted as both a Tax Act and a PDF file. And when you get to the Tax Act module, you'll understand that in a little more detail. Now, for every tax return problem, I give you a help sheet. You must, and I repeat, must use this help sheet. If you do not use a help sheet, you will be completely lost. And when you go to the required graded assignments module, you'll see the multiple choice questions are listed first. By the way, always complete the multiple choice questions first. I've got these to scaffold your learning. In other words, the easier assignment is assigned first, and then the harder assignment is assigned last. Then you're going to do the problems. Then you'll notice I've got the help sheet above the tax return problem. The tax return problem, if you click on this, it'll take you to Connect. Again, this is there for information purposes only. That's where you'll find the problem information. You can also find it in the textbook. I'll give you what the problem is. You can go to the end of the chapter and look at tax return problem 1. Again, if you complete these and Connect, they will not be accepted for grading for any reason. You must use Tax Act. The last thing I want to point out to you now that we've gone through the module is in the course information module. I want to talk about course grades. This explains how your grades will be calculated. First of all, I do not curve grades at the end of the semester, and I do not provide bonus points. So you will get the grade that you earn. Please read over the course grade policies. You've got course orientation assignments. These are the assignments that are due August 31st. These must be completed. You get no opportunity to drop them. If you don't complete them, then you're just going to lose those points. Now, for the required graded assignments, I do give you opportunities to drop assignments. I know that some weeks are rougher for you. I know that some chapters are going to be harder for you. So I let you drop your lowest grade in the multiple choice questions, the problems, and the tax return problems. I let you drop 1 grade. Again, I do not extend these. Don't say, hey, I had a really busy week. Can I have an extension? Because I'm going to say no. Other students meet the same challenges and they meet the deadline. So you're going to have to meet the 8 a.m. deadline every Monday. And by the way, if you wait till Sunday night to do your assignments, you're not going to do well. You're not going to be successful in the course. You need to work on this course every few days. You've got 3 discussions. The first one is in week 1, and then this one is in week 3, and this one is in week 14, I think I remember. The resume template, and then you've got the Tax Act assessments. You've got a midterm and a final. So there are 570 points available in the course. The grade scale, 90 to 100 is an A. So that's pretty generous. Now, if you have an 89.1 at the end of the semester, well, I want to round that up. The answer is yes, okay? You're close enough. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But if you have an 88.9, that'll become an 89. That is not an A. Don't send me an email asking me to give you an A because I'm going to say no. So I will hold to these grades, but there will be a little bit of wiggle room if you're on the borderline. So anyway, hopefully this gave you an idea of what the course looks like, gave you a little idea of how to navigate Brightspace. So if you have any questions, please let me know. You can either email me in Brightspace or you can email me at my regular email address. My regular email address is provided for you on the course homepage right here. So I hope we have a good semester.